Hi everybody, I want to share with you something that I'm doing as an experiment, and this may take a little while because I got to get it all set up, but what I'm going to be doing is setting up a hive here that I've built to convert Langstroth frames to Layens frames, or rather to encourage bees to move from one frame size to the other in a hive that will allow me to put the frames side by side, parallel, using adapters within the hive, not having to adapt the frames themselves or cut apart the frames or anything of that sort. So we'll see how it works. I keep my bees in Layens hives, but I did receive a nucleus colony in exchange for helping somebody move, and so this nucleus colony will provide a good test base for this new hive. It's kind of late in the year. It's the 1st of August today, so we're entering our dearth period here. So from dearth into fall, I don't know if we'll see a whole lot of activity here. This would be better done in the spring when the bees are really building up their hive, but I'm going to go ahead and go forward with it. What I have right now, I have the nucleus colony, which is full. They are running out of space. They're building cross comb like crazy, and I did put a Langstroth upper, or another hive with Langstroth deeps on top of that nuke, another 5-frame box. And that was on there for a little while, and I thought, well, why not just put a Layens box on top? So I took a Layens swarm trap, took the bottom off of it, set it on top instead using an adapter, and it didn't work very well. And the reason is I left too much space in between the bottom of the Layens frames and the top of the Langstroth frames. Instead of going up to the Layens frames and building down, the bees built down from the bottom of the frames where there was about 2 inches of space. So that hasn't worked very well. We'll probably see some of that cross combing here as well. But so that didn't work out great. But I have my new hive built. I'm ready to move them into it, so we're going to try doing that today. So I'm going to get set up. I built this new hive using Langstroth boxes. I used 3 deep boxes put together into one long hive, cutting the sides off of the boxes. And then I used shallow supers, same thing, 3 shallow supers side by side with adapted together into one long hive, and then a spacer bottom, which will give space for the deeper Layens frames. So the first part I have is our bottom. Taking some of the sawdust out, and you can see I reused the Langstroth boxes as much as possible. In fact, this whole thing was built from reclaimed and reused lumber, so I didn't have to put any more cost into it, considering the cost of lumber right now. Put that in place. There's our second box made with the Langstroth supers. And now this bigger box is this top box is a little heavier because it has the lid. I just realized I put this box backwards. There's some cuts here where I drilled the entry holes, so I'll have to turn this around. That was probably really a job for 2 people, but where there's a will, there's a way. So, I have my hinge lid. Because it's attached, that's why I had the whole thing together in one piece. You can see the old Langstroth boxes in there tied together. I have some cedar wood on the outside that I used to tie everything together, and the cedar wood was reclaimed from an old compost bin that I had, so reused that. Now I have my adapters to hold the frames. For the Langstroth frames, I simply have a box as a spacer for the bottom. Because the hive is so deep, I don't want to leave space underneath the Langstroth frames for the bees to build comb down from the frames. So I'll put the box in place. And this hive could have a lot of versatile use. I may use it for queen rearing, I may use it for making splits. I could make 3 boxes like this and have a long Langstroth box. I could have all adapters have it just as a Layens box. I do have 6 entrances, which will allow me to make small partitions if I want to do splits, queen rearing, and all that sort of thing. And the idea here is that, well, right now I have bees on Langstroth frames. I want to get them on Layens. The nature of bees is that they will typically put their brood closest to the entrance. So the general concept here is to open the entrance closest to the frames that I want the bees to move to. So we'll see how that works. Now the Layens frames being shorter than the Langstroth, all I need to do is narrow the box some. And I puzzled over this a lot, trying to figure out a way to make an adapter that I could just set in there and it would stay. I finally just decided to go ahead and put screws in here to hold them in place. And when I drilled my entrance holes, I did drill once in one place and then use this spacer as a template for drilling the other holes. So I'm able to make, so if I wanted to move this adapter over here or over there, it would work out okay. Now, what else do we need? Okay, so I've made some other parts for it, but I'll get to those as we use them. Now let's get into the hive and start moving bees. As I move these over, it would be awesome if I can get the queen into the Layens section. So I have a queen excluder that I built, which is built to go into the Langstroth portion. It's a tight fit, it's supposed to be. Goes all the way to the bottom, all the way to each side. And for the top, I have cover boards that will go over the Langstroth frame so that the bees can't come up through the frames. So if I can get the queen over into this side and feel pretty confident about that, and if I can find the queen, that's great. If I can't find her, I probably just shake all the bees out over here as I move the frames, and we'll see what works out. If at the end of the day I really have no idea where if for some reason she might be over here, I'll take the excluder out and it'll just take longer that way. I'll get my queen clip handy, just in case I find her and want to trap her while I deal with the rest of the bees. And let's get into the box. The bees, I checked on this just a few days ago, and I expected they would do what they did before, which is to propolize this lid down tight, and they did, which I don't know why. They're not building at the top of the box, but they sure come up here to build propolis. Alright, so as you can see, the Layens frames, when you open the hive, you're not exposing all the bees. It's one thing I like about the Layens hives. So as we start to pull them out, then we'll see the bees. course, in this operation, the bees are going to be all exposed and disturbed anyway. After this first frame, I'll give them a little puff of smoke. So, they haven't, you see they haven't built anything on this frame. I'm really kind of expecting that'll be the case with all the Layens frames based on what I saw before. But they don't, they have maybe a little tiny bit of comb at the bottom, or something going on there. Be something if we found our queen right away, but I don't think it is. No, she's not there. Just a little bunch of bees. And right now I have this entrance here open and all the rest closed. So I'm going to put the Langstroth frames over here. Bees can't get out over here. They have to go through the excluder, which will be a problem if I end up with my queen on this side of the excluder. I said I was going to smoke them, but oh well. Okay, got a little festooning going on where the bees are all kind of hanging on each other. But no comb built. They're pretty calm in there right now, so I don't really see a need to smoke them right now. Maybe when we get down to the bottom box. Got these frames pretty well profilised together, even if they're not building wax. Okay, a little festooning going on there, but it doesn't look like they're building wax. I see a little wax on top of the Langstroth frames here, so we'll have to deal with that. Somebody said, I have no idea if this is trustworthy or not, but somebody said that when bees hang like that, they festoon like that, they kind of act as a plumb bob in order to be able to build comb straight. I don't know if that's the case, so maybe there's some engineering going on here. But as you can see, they haven't built anything on any of this foundation. It's all down at the bottom. Now this next frame has a little bit of comb at the bottom. I'm going to get these bees start. Let them think there's a forest fire going on. They can start loading up on nectar and be too lazy to sting me. Okay. So there we got a little bit of comb on the bottom of this one. So we'll take that off. And what I'm going to do, this has a little bit of nectar in it, and I'll give that back to them. So I'm going to put this in a lid. Actually what I will do is I'm just going to put it over in the other end of this hive for now, and I will let them clean it up. It'll be inside, so it's not going to be out in the open where it might spawn some robbing activity. The bees from this hive can clean it up, and then I'll come back later and clean out that extra comb. More. This one doesn't look like it has anything built on it. Over here. Push those frames all together. And now that we have the Layens frames in, I have a divider board that I'll put into place. Now this marks kind of an end of the frames, but it has a gap at the bottom that will allow the bees to get underneath, like get to that comb that I put over there. And supposedly the bees being able to go underneath and explore the rest of the hive kind of tells them there's some space here. Now this time of year with this colony, I'm not expecting that they would be swarming anytime soon, but they are pretty full in that nuke box. But supposedly, knowing that they have extra space, even though they rarely will build anything in there, kind of gives them some comfort that they don't really have to swarm because of space. So we let them have that little gap. And I will check that to make sure I cut it properly, because I only want to leave about a 3/8 inch gap. If I left too little, the bees won't go under it. And so if it's like a 1/4 inch, that'll be too small. They'll just propolize it, fill up the gap. So before I finish up here, I'll make sure that the bees are going under. Now, get our boxes apart. They're pretty well sealed. I didn't leave myself much space to pry on this. There we go. Now get those apart. A few bees hanging out there. Cool, it's all yellow on the bottom where they kind of coated it with propolis. But, they're pretty good about that. Keeping things clean, keeping things sealed up. Now, I'm going to tip this over just a second so you can kind of see. They've got some comb on top of these frames. As I go through here, I'm probably going to have to cut these frames apart because there's a little cross comb there, and it's going to be interesting. First thing, I'll pull this comb off the top. First thing, I'm going to smoke these guys, just to keep them peaceful. A little crowd control. All right. Some of this top comb, bird comb. Whoop. Okay, give that back to them. Use my fillet knife to cut apart some of this other comb. Now as we pull these frames out, and this is not for the experienced beekeepers, but we'll try to move the frames over and put them in here in exactly the same sequence that they came out as, with the same orientation. Got a comb here that's pretty much all honey. A little bit broken open here. The bees are going to try to clean that up. Drop my tool. Shake those bees off and clean off some of this comb off the bottom. There's some good honey there. Have at it, girls. There you go. Okay, that's one. That space might make the others easier to deal with. Another fillet job. said before that we'll put the frames in the exact same order that they came out. I am going to change that a little bit because I'm trying to get my bees to move from here over here. If I have frames of full honey in between where the brood is and where I want the brood to be, that could create an obstacle. So, oh, she got me. Hold on. She snuck up while I was talking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this honey and I'm going to scoot it over, and we'll put the brood right up next to that where the Layens frames are. What I'm doing here, I'm smoking my hand because when bees sting, they give off, it leaves a pheromone that signals other bees that they also should sting that same place. So I smoked both hands. Didn't get stung on this hand, but we'll give the bees a little more smoke. Okay. All right, and on to our next frame. So there we've got honey and brood. So I'm actually going to turn this one. Don't squish any bees here. We've got all honey on this side, so I'm going to put it towards the outside. Oh, but I don't know where my queen is. We have a queen here. We've got some brood, got some pollen. Do not see a queen. Little comb on the bottom, not too concerned about that. Still don't see a queen. I don't think she's on here. Okay, that's two. There's 5 Langstroth frames in here, so I'm almost halfway done. So there we got brood. Don't spot the queen. Got some burr comb at the bottom that is not a queen cell at the bottom. Some looks a little bit like it, but it is not. Don't see my queen. I'll just shake them out. And I think I'll go ahead and clean off some of this burr comb, even though I'm getting short on time and the bees' patience. Not much honey in that, so I'm not going to bother dropping it in there for them. So I'm really kind of reversing the frames here. Got a few bees that are here at my veil telling me they're not too happy with me, but the way it goes, bees. Okay. So that's a large brood area on there. Better go away. If we have the queen on here, well, we know I got a queen in here, but lots of young brood in there. I don't see the queen. As I'm smoking, she's probably been run back to the last frame. One frame left. We got some brood in there too. So don't yet. So she may be in that little cluster at the top. There's a bunch of bees up there and they may be trying to hide her. A little motion up there. Not sure, but we're going to try to hurry this up because the bees are not happy. We'll dump and run. Let's see, possibly she hung on, maybe not. Now that looks like, I don't know, burr comb on it. It's not hollow. Don't want her to sting me there. Okay, so we're going to match this one up. If these bees will let me set it in. Trying to help you out, girls. I don't want a pain. Okay. So that's our Langstroth frames in place. Still got a few bees in the box here. We'll dump them. So first I'm going to push these frames over to the side. Try to get these bees out of the way. Push anybody. Okay, so now we have our Langstroth frames right next to the Layens frames. I've got my queen excluder in the middle. Pretty sure as I put the frames in here, I shook them out over there, so the queen is either in this box down here or she's in this end over here. I'm going to take this box, shake it out over here, and we should catch her. I'll take a glance in there and see if I can see her first. I don't spot the queen in there. I do see bees going underneath our divider, so we know they can get through there. That's a good thing. Don't see her in here either. Okay, so we got a handful of bees in here, a couple small hive beetles, but no queen left in here, so that is good. I'll set this box down for now, but before I leave I'll set it in front of the entrance, and what bees are left in here should make their way up and into the entrance. So the final thing, I have a divider for this end that I'm going to try to push the bees back. This divider is not intended to let the bees come through. I don't want them to think there's more space over here. I want them to build that way. So we're going to try to push them out of this end. Crawling on my leg. And now, before too many bees fill back in over there, I'm going to throw some cover boards here. There is a tiny gap at the bottom. They might possibly be able to get through. If they can't, might be 2 or 3 bees that get stuck. And my cover boards, spacing doesn't let them in there. Okay. We're going to cover over this. The Langstroth frames have a gap in between because you normally build Langstroth boxes up, but we don't want them to go up. So I'm going to put a cover board on here. Be gentle about it, give the bees time to move down. Something was holding it up. It's not a bee, it's wax. Girls move down. I don't want to squish bees, not just because I don't want to kill them, but when you squish a bee, it gives off a scent that triggers the other bees that something bad's happening, and I don't want them to think that. They're already upset enough. That bee was already dead. Now, this isn't making a perfect lid. I cut these cover boards kind of quick. Obviously, depending on how the frames are spaced, it doesn't give me enough gap to put the cover boards down nicely, but that's okay. It's riding up a little bit. If some of the bees come up into the attic here, I'm not too concerned about that. But for the most part, the cover boards will keep them working in their workspace. So, as far as I see, as far as I believe right now, our queen should be over on this end. Hopefully we'll migrate over to the other frames. I did see some bees in there that were kind of marching over to the other side. So in fact, maybe I'll take a look and see what's going on. They're just kind of hanging out in there, and I have several bees that keep reminding me they're not happy with me. So we'll go ahead and close it up, and I'll check back on it later. And also by having that opening, any bees that get caught under the lid can get back down inside the hive with the rest. So I'm going to put this box over in front of the entrance and let these bees make their way inside. I'll check back on this in a day or two once the bees are kind of settled down, and hopefully things are happening. So that's the converter hive, and we'll see how it works. Thanks a lot for watching.